the customer comes up, as soon as they open the door, they've got the smile on the face and, hey, how you going there, Dave or Rob or whoever it is, and we banter each other for the next 15 minutes, and then they walk out with a smile on their face and they just jump back in the car and they're driving out still happy.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
Welcome to the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, where we celebrate the craft, the community and the future of butchery. I'm your host, Doug Piper. Today we're heading to regional New South Wales to chat with Nathan Gunter from Darling Street Meat House in Dubbo. Nathan's shop is a cornerstone of the local community and he's passionate about innovation, customer engagement and keeping red meat at the heart of the Aussie meals. Now let's dive in with Nathan. G'day mate, how are you today?
G'day Doug, I'm good, thanks.
It's Monday in Dubbo and Monday where I am, so how was your day today, mate?
It was a good Monday today. We're topping 38 degrees and customers are happy to come into the shop where it's nice and cool.
38, geez, I don't think it quite made it down here on the coast, but wow, yes, you would have been a bit warm, mate.
Bit warm, mate. Hard to try and keep the meat cold, but we manage.
Mate, how many years have you been out in Dubbo for?
I grew up in Wellington, which is 30 minutes down east of Dubbo, and I did my school in there. And yeah, so I've been there pretty much since 89 when we moved here.
Okay.
And I've been backwards and forwards from Dubbo ever since, yeah.
What made you want to settle down and open up a butcher shop there?
I've always had a dream of having a butcher shop, and I just always figured it'd be something to do one day, but sometimes things never work out right and you end up leaving town. And so we left town, me and my wife, and and then decided to come back again and then left town again and come back. I always keep coming back to Dubbo, you know. There's always thinking there's a greener pastures on the other side. But turns out Dubbo's is probably the best place we've been.
That's fair. You know the place, you know a lot of the people there, so it sort of makes sense to sort of, put your roots down there and try and build your business there, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like the shop I'm in now at the moment was where I finished my apprenticeship, then ended up now owning the building and living in it and working in there.
That's a good story. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for being able to buy the business that you did your apprenticeship in, because, you get to know all the customers, even though they change, they do change eventually. Like we get older and we move on. But you would have known a lot about the community there and what everybody likes. So, yeah, smart move.
Yeah, definitely. Like when we only opened about 2.5 years ago, and when we opened and in come all these customers, and I'd say, oh, hello, Sally, how are you? And like Sally recognised me. She's an 88-year-old lady, lives just around the corner. And I used to serve her when I was an apprentice. And she says, oh, Nathan, you're back. She knows me.
That's a good thing about being a butcher, because especially when you've been there for a long time, you know everybody, the majority of your customers, and you know what they like. So it gives you a great feeling inside knowing that you're helping them and they remember you too.
Yeah, it probably helps that I got a really recognisable face and big, tall, 6'7" man. You can't miss me.
They walk around you, not through you, that's for sure.
That's it.
I know there's a few butcher shops in the Dubbo area, so what makes yours unique? What's your point of difference?
Like I said, I've worked in nearly every shop in Dubbo, and I've seen what they all do, and every shop in Dubbo is either a bulk buy specials or buy meat packs and all that, and they're all selling good meat, but they're selling it cheap and everything too. And so I thought, let's make our shop do something completely different, and let's make it a destination shop, somewhere where you can go for these specialty cuts and turn up and get some good quality meat at a decent price.
You've got to have that point of difference, otherwise you're just going to be the same as everybody else. The bulk packs are a great idea for the families. You give them a special there in some of them. But I think it's a great idea to try and have that point of difference, especially if you're looking at quality and whatever else you're doing there.
Yeah, another big point of difference is I only sell good cuts of steak. I only sell my Scotch fillet. I've got ribeyes in the counter, sirloins, T-bones and rump steak. They're my 5 steaks I have in the counter. I don't worry about putting any blade in there. I don't put bowler blades in there, but cross-cut blades. I don't put anything like that I don't like eating myself. I just use all that and something else.
Do you still have it in stock, or you just basically stick to those premium cuts?
Yeah, I have it in stock because I get whole bodies. So we're always breaking down the whole bodies. So I have it in stock if somebody asks for it and wants it. But most of the time I'm usually using it for either diced beef or I use it for my beef rissoles, which is a great way to make rissoles out of a bowler blade.
So are you buying your beef locally, or are you getting it out of Sydney? Or
I buy locally out of Breakout River.
Oh yeah,
I've been sourcing straight from them, whole bodies, whole lambs and whole pigs from them, which works out pretty good. I do get a bit of organic beef from a farmer direct in Dunedoo, which is just an hour and a half sort of east. Yeah, and it works out pretty good as a certified organic, and some people are really chasing that sort of stuff, and it's only every 6 weeks I get one body of it, but pretty high up in their price, but people want to have that organic and they want to know where it's exactly sourced from. So they're happy about that.
Is the quality there with the organic beef as compared to what you're getting out of Breakout?
The quality is up and down. Of course, he's farming it and he's growing it. It's all on pasture fed. So pasture fed and grass fed. So like where the seasons are up, like I just got a last body off him in November, and here in November it's pretty dry and not very much grass. So it was a very lean body. But then come winter time, we get some really nice, good fatty bodies in there.
Being a regional area, what sort of influence is that on the way that you run your business? Do you have to sort of obviously forward plan a lot?
Yeah, the big thing is dry goods and stock that out here, because it all comes from either Sydney, from Ace Butchers or Neil & Co. And it's only a once a month thing. And if you run short of something like, crap, I've ran out of skins, who do I ring? How do I get some skins out of here? I can ring the skins guy, but it's going to take about 5 days to get out of here, so I'm still going to have no skins for sausages. So the thing is, you've got to talk to the other butchers in town, which is good because we got the knowledge. We're all friends. We all seem to get along with each other. And I just ducked down the road. He said, hey, can I borrow some skins? I'll replace them to you when I get mine in 5 days' time. And yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that whole butchery engagement thing or networking thing is just so important. Like years ago, I know butchers wouldn't even talk to each other if you're in the same town. You'd be standing around the corner checking out prices on each other's window and then going back and competing against him. But nowadays it's not competing against butcher on butcher. It's competing against all the food service people, all the restaurants, the supermarkets, all your QSRs like the McDonald's, Kentucky Fried, Domino's. So, you can ramble them off. A dozen of them in each town, but the butchers themselves, like, you've got to stick together. You've got to make sure that you look after each other, because if you don't, another one goes, and then those people don't necessarily come back to the butcher. They go off to the supermarket or somewhere else.
Yeah. When I was an apprentice, I was in my 3rd year and I was working with a couple of butchers there, and one butcher left and he went to another shop. Then later on, that other shop, the boss rings me up and says, hey, Nathan, I've got a job down here. You want to come down there? And I said, oh, no, I'm quite happy where I'm at the moment. I'll stick with where I'm at. I told my boss that. And then later on that day, both bosses meet up at the RSL. They're having a punch on their arm. Hey, you stole my butcher. You want to take my butcher? But it doesn't happen like that now anymore. Like, I've got a big butcher down the road there, and he borrowed a carton of ham cure off me the other day because it was Christmas time and I'm making hams, he's making hams, and he said, I need some cure. I said, can I get it? Yeah, no worries. We help each other, yeah.
Yeah, no, you've got to do that. Hey, mate, with all your customers, what do they value the most when they come into your shop? Do they like, obviously, the service and the quality and that, but when it comes down to product and that, what do they normally go for?
They normally go, I think my customers normally go for good quality, which is what I really bring to the shop. Like my steaks are cut nice and thick. Remember the time when we used to say, oh, cut steaks thin, so you can get more steaks out of it. So I've cut my steaks thick, and everyone just keeps coming back, oh, look at that Scotch fillet, that's so thick, I want 2 of them, But I'd like to think it's just me and my wife, just a happy smile all the time too. They always keep coming back for that, just to have a chat even sometimes.
Yeah, if you've got a vibe about the place, a good vibe in the butcher shop, I think a lot of people tend to go, I like shopping there because they're always happy, they're always friendly. Well, it's a bit of a chore these days, I think, shopping, so it makes it more enjoyable, I suppose.
When we took on the shop, we did a lot of renovations and upgrades, and we made the whole shop open so you can see from the front of the shop all the way to the back door of the shop. There's nowhere to hide. So, and people like that because they can walk up to the counter. They can stand at the counter, and I can be at the back of the shop there making sausages, and I can go, how you going there, John? And John says, hey, Nathan, what are you doing there? And I said, I'm just making sausages, and they're just happy to watch me linking the sausages. And yeah, and then just no rush. I say, I'll be with you in a second. And they said, that's all right, we're just happy to watch you. And that's a good thing, and we've got nothing to hide at the shop, and the shop's more inviting than most other shops, I think. That's what we've made too.
Hey, mate, have your customers' preferences changed over the years since you moved away as an apprentice and then came back as an owner? Are they still buying the same, or you found them buying a little bit differently these days?
Yeah, like I said, I was in that shop when I was an apprentice, and it was just a bulk, buy this bulk, buy that bulk, and 2 kilos of mince for like $10 and all that. If you buy 4 kilos of mince, you get it even cheaper. I don't do that in my shop, and people are happy just to pay for 4 kilos of mince at the cert price. And I think it's more to do with the area I'm in, which is the South Dubbo area, where everyone's all established. They're double income people, working there, and they're happy to live there. They own their homes or part own their homes. So I think, yeah, if I'd try to open this shop and did it the same way as I'm doing it now, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I don't think the customers would have been there. So I think trends are changing a bit. and it's changing for the better, you know.
I think it's a good thing for butchers not to have to discount, because you're devaluing the product, and a lot of butchers do themselves a lot of harm financially by having to do that. But it's not always necessary because people are out there at the moment, they're not generally eating out a lot anymore. Their restaurants aren't doing as good as what they were. So people are cooking more at home. So I think this is a thing that a lot of butchers have got to sort of understand. It's not always having to give the meat away, or not give it away, but just discount it, but get what it's worth for it. If you're selling good quality meat, you need to get a good return on it, because those people are going to come back and buy it again.
Definitely. Like I've had a few people come in, not very many, but they say, if I buy 10 kilos of sausages, are you going to give it to me any cheaper? And I just come back and then say, it doesn't work that way. If I buy 10 bodies of beef this week, I don't get it any cheaper than when I buy one body of beef. It's still the same for me. So I can't discount it for you. Even if I do buy more, it's going to be more labor for me. You understand that? And they say, oh, really? So yeah. But like coming back to what you said, like a lot of people don't like to eat out, because I have a lot of people coming in there, say they're tradies, they're traveling through, and they say, where's a good place for a steak? And I say, right here, buy the steak here and cook it yourself. You won't find a better steak at any restaurant here in Dubbo. That's because they're all buying the cheap bulk stuff, obviously. And yeah, they come back and they say, that is the best steak I've ever had.
Well, that's what you want. You just love them to come back and give you the good news. What's more popular in your shop? Any real popular beef and lamb cuts, or anything a little bit sort of trendier that you're selling to your customers?
Yeah, we like to do a little bit of value adding and sort of make stuff a little bit look different on the place. So when I've got a small counter, it's only 4 meters long, so I put small trays there, and I like to put these little lamb rumps there. They're a boneless little lamb rump, cover them in Tuscan herb, and we just garnish them up, like throwing onions, lemons, cherries, even pineapples on top of them, and it just sets them off. I think that looks like a meal fit for a king, and all it is a lamb rump. And people say, wow, we want to get 4 of them, and pies. People love my pies. I do a good brisket ham cheese pie. Been smoking the biscuits out the back there, and they have been managed it all right. And people just come in and say, these pies are better than any pies we can get at the bakery anywhere. So why aren't they selling them cooked? I said, well, maybe that's an option. I'll start selling some cooked, I suppose. But yeah.
It's a growing trend, I think, with a lot of butchers I've seen around the traps. The old pie warmers sort of starting to show up on the counter.
Yeah.
Or some butchers are actually going into, putting a cafe next door, or actually inside their shops, and it just gives you another attraction, I suppose, to the shop, to why customers should come into your shop and buy something. Because, at the end of the day, pies are so easy to make. I think there's a lot, you can buy your bases, buy your tops. You've got pie mixes. I know Neil's have put a lot of energy and money into their pie mixes and that, and they seem to be going very well in a lot of stores.
Yeah, the big thing is you put more meat in the pie, obviously, can't you? Because we're buying it at a cheaper price. There's no middleman, no baker that's going to take a cut. And my wife is a baker, so that's the big plus. She does all that, and she enjoys doing it for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a baker.
She's a baker pastry chef by trade, and yeah, so we're just the butcher and the baker there.
And she's pretty good with the pastries and all?
Oh, great. She's great with the pastries. She's just great with the decorating of the shop. The whole front of the shop is, I just let her go for it. And she wants to put this sauce here and this marinade there. And we got different flavoured salts and that. And the shop just looks so much more inviting because it's had that woman's touch. I go out there sometimes and I front face something and she says, no, a man's done that. I can tell a man's done that. She said, leave that for me. And same with the garnishes in the trays. Like I love just cutting all the steaks. And she says, could we get a tray of marinated chops out there? So I cut a tray, some marinated chops for her. She'll marinate them and then she'll just garnish them, or we call it zhuzhing them. She zhuzhes them to the max for us. Like not just parsley anymore. We don't use parsley. It's either pomegranates. It's pine nuts, slices of lemons and limes on there. There's lemon zest on there and just looks so fresh and inviting. And people say, wow, that's a marinated chop. That looks great. I'll buy that.
Yeah, we buy with our eyes, don't we?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like our shop is like walk in and just your visual senses just hit you and you say, wow, this is a butcher shop. We have a lot of people come in and say, this shop shouldn't be here in Dubbo. This shop should be on the eastern suburbs of Sydney. And I just say, no, don't put me in that boat. I'm not as good as some of them shops. And they say, yeah, that looks so much like it. You'd be very, very well down there. And I said, no, I'm nowhere near as good as them boys. I said, I'm just trying to do the best I can out here.
Yeah, there are some brilliant shops around, and not taking that away from you either, mate. You do a great job out there, and like a lot of other butchers out there, they They work with what they've got. They put a great display in every day. They look at doing different types of value-adding products or just keeping the community happy and keeping them well fed, I suppose. So, Sydney is not the be-all, or Victoria or the major capital cities aren't the be-all and end-all of everything, because there's a heck of a lot of money out there in the regional areas, that's for sure. Mate, value add, MLA or the Australian Butchers Guild, we've got a stack of value add products in our website. How do you see that sort of like value added products as a growth for the industry or for butchers? How do you see that continuing to grow over the next few years? Because we've seen quite a few butchers with a considerable amount of their cases filled with value add products.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. Like my busiest time of the day, I can be there all day, but my busiest time is from 3:30 till 5:30 when we shut. That's when everyone's coming home from school, coming home from work. And they're time poor, so they want something nice and quick. And they look at the stuff that it's already like a lamb musselmum we do. It's really good. It's ready to go. You just throw it in the slow cooker. You can slow cook it, but you just do it in the frying pan and it's done. It's beautiful. Stuff like that. Stir fries, which are simple stir fries. You just got to have lots of stir fries there because it's quick for them. But value added so easy. This meat wrapped in pastry, throw it in the oven half an hour, 45 minutes, and it's done. Fry salad and chips on the side. And that's a meal for a family, and it's for people that are time poor, helps them out so much better.
And that's where your wife would come in handy too, because she can bang them out real quick, can't she?
As long as I can cut the meat and get the meat ready for her, and we can get the time to do them, she can just pump these out, which is really handy.
With the lamb the way it is at the moment, I know it's a little bit on the high side with the pricing and that. How have you found your lamb sales going?
It's just been terrible. I think when it first started going up, I thought, geez, this is going to be bad. We were going from 15 lambs a week down to 8 in the first price rise. That's no good. And then the next week is another price rise. And then you're just watching the trend and it's going up again the next week and the next week. And you're saying, when's it going to stop? And I said, well, the demand's there. That's what everyone's telling me. There's demand there for the lamb. So it did slow for like about 5 or 6 weeks, but I think we're back up to about 15 to 20 lambs again now. You just got to do stuff differently. Like no one wants to pay $22 for a 4/4 chop. So I've been boning out shoulders and doing bone and rolled shoulders, or I do a bone-in shoulder. When I was an apprentice, no one ever sold any bone and rolled shoulders. We just always 4/4 chops and like same thing, like they're cheap, so 2 kilos for $10, And now I'm selling shoulders at $50 a shoulder, and people are happy to buy them every day of the week.
We do the same old thing. I've said this time and time again. We do the same old all the time. We just got to look at different ways of selling product. And there's a shop in Lane Cove, Hummerston's Meat's been there for 150,000 years, I think. They don't cut a 4/4 chop. At one stage they were doing about 100 lambs a week, and they never cut a 4/4 chop. It was all sold in as a marinated shoulder. And back when I think lamb prices were, I don't know, $4 a kilo, say, they were getting $30 for a shoulder or $25-30 for a shoulder. And now, I don't know what they're getting now, I've been in there for a while, but they are still doing the same thing. They're still just selling shoulders whole. If you want 4/4 chops, they'll cut them for you.
I would love to do that, just like not sell 4/4 chops, because I hate cutting them. I hate running it through the store and slipping it out. That's the only time I've ever cut myself on the bandsaw is cutting the 4/4 chops. Yeah. So you lose your confidence of that.
Yeah.
But, that's just shoulders. I do a lot of marinated shoulders too, like just a shoulder bone in, marinate it up and put it on a foil tray, throw heaps of lemons, limes on there, pomegranates again too, and even just sliced up diced mini cherry tomatoes. Yeah, people love that. Another thing is legs of lamb. Everyone used to say leg of lamb, oh, they're so dear for a leg of lamb. So I H-bone all my legs. Every leg's H-bone. So I get that lamb rump, which I don't sell chump chops. I sell lamb rump steaks, I call them. And people say, what's a lamb rump steak? I said, well, it's just essentially a chump chop with no bone. I said, it's my favourite chop, but without a bone. And they say, wow, that looks good, and they want to buy it. All my legs, I just bone and roll them. I saw a great video by Craig Munro, and he put it up a couple of years ago. And I said, that's a great way of boning them legs. I've never seen legs bone like that. I said, I'm going to use that. I said to him, he said, go ahead, mate. It's free for anyone to use. And that's the only way I've done them. I've showed all my apprentices to bone the legs the same way, and we roll them up that way with a little shank bone on the end there. And people say, wow, that's a great little leg. It's only 1.5 kilo leg, and it's good size, easy for them to cook because it's all even and cooks quickly.
Is that the same as an easy carve roast, or is it a little bit different? I haven't seen that video.
Oh, you just crack the shank on the bone and then just slash bone it out through the top side and the round. And then you remove the gland and everything, then you roll the round up against the top side a completely different way. So you're pushing the meat into a different position, put a pin in there, and you've got a nice even roast, which is only about 4 or 5 inches round or so.
So you're leaving all three muscles in there and just taking basically the leg bone out.
Yep. Get on Craig's page. You'll see it down there. I reckon Craig's one of the best butchers around. He's got some great ideas, and it's always easy to follow someone that knows what they're doing better than me.
Yeah, well, I'll have to go and have a look at that. I must have missed that. I generally do an easy carve, and I pull the knuckle out, and I use, like, you obviously just do your toppy and your silver side as a roast with the shank bone on it still, but I use the knuckle and butterfly that out and sort of use that as like another lamb rump sort of. I don't sell it as a lamb. I wouldn't sell it as a lamb rump, but I sort of tell people about it as a nice little roast as well. So it's butterflied out. You can marinate it, and it cooks the same time as what a lamb rump does, which is about 15, 20 minutes.
I sell some of them too. I like the same thing. I'll bone the legs out and do a silver side, top side roast with the whole fat wrapped around it. That's a small leg, boneless. And then I'll put the lamb round in there, and I stick it in there. And I go back to the old school days when I was in school. Ads on TV were trim lamb. Is that lamb? Is that lamb? And so I put that on there. I said, this is a trim lamb steak. So they go, whoa, what's that? It's a trim lamb steak. It's a round steak. All you got to do is fry it quickly, or you can roast it like a little whole roast. Re-educating people back in the old days, I think.
Mate, that was a long time ago. It was, I think I got involved with that. It would have been in the 80s, which is well before your time. Crikey.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. When I was an apprentice, we used to have so many people come up to the window and tap on the window just to recreate the ad, and they'd say, hey, is that lamb?
We had a do many years ago with the Lamb Board or whoever it was, and we had Maxie Walker, the cricketer. We had a night at Ryde TAFE, and we went and learnt about trim lamb that night. It was actually pretty cool. It was a good night. It was one of the first times I'd ever been involved in going to an event with other butchers, and like everybody was sort of like, okay, yeah, this makes sense, but nobody was there poo-pooing it. No one was saying, we'll never sell that stuff. They embraced it and they took it on board, and it's still in a very raw form, still very much there today. Everybody's doing it. It's the norm, I suppose, really.
Yeah, like it's the same thing. Like everyone out here was butchers, and all the butchers I met, they sort of hated being butchers, and they said, all I am is just a butcher. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago when I got invited to go down to the meat stock to work and go in the butcher wars. And I was going down there, and I met Shannon, and I met all these butchers, and it's great to talk to these other butchers that are more passionate about butchering than I am. I thought I was the only one that cared about it, but these guys, they love it, they live it, they breathe it.
You know what? You're never just a butcher. You are a butcher. The butchers are butchers. You're not just a butcher. And I say that time and time again, because who else can do what we do? Who else can stand there and look at a body of beef and go, yeah, I can break that down, and you can go and do it. Into the various muscles and what you can create out of meat. It's a skill.
I like to say, like we're a tradie, like the tradie gets involved in someone that builds a house or something. That's the only tradies, but they're working from 7 till 2 o'clock, and then they're knocking off, we're at the moment, I'm working at 1 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, pumping my hands.
No. Yeah.
Finish till 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. And so they say, what are you doing that for? I said, well, I'm a tradie and I've got to do my job.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, your customers out there concerned about sustainability and provenance?
Yeah, I've got a fair few of it. You get a fair few people coming around that way. They're concerned about where it's come from and what sort of vaccinations has this beef had, and that's why I go to get that body of certified organic. It's got that certification, he's got a good marketing with it. He has this Gunter, and he's got a good traceability. He's got a QR code there, which I can package on every packet, and the customer can scan that, and they can follow back to think about his farm, and he gives a monthly report to me about how much crops he's grown, what the rain was like. So I can say, he's had good rainfall, and the cattle are beefed up, and they're all good. And he says, we drenched them in this salt bush sort of drench and all this, natural drench, and people are happy to know that. They say that the cattle is actually cared for. Yeah, they're happy for that.
It does mean a lot to consumers today. I think ever since, probably before COVID, but since COVID, it's become more important to some consumers is knowing a little bit more about what they're putting in their bodies, and knowing that the meat's been ethically raised and sustainably farmed and just a little bit like that whole drenched with saltbush. That there is something different. I've never heard of that before. So they're actually using the saltbush liquid or whatever, or they're soaking saltbush to
soaking saltbush with vinegar and all that or something, and they make a drench out of it, and they drench the cattle in it. That's that works. It works. They've never had any worms into their cattle, and the offal comes back perfect. And that's another thing too. More and more people are coming into my shop chasing offal. They want the lamb hearts, they want the livers, that bone marrow. I can't get enough bone marrow. People just want bone marrow. They're just getting bone marrow raw and they're feeding it to their kids. The kids love it. Young babies want to eat bone marrow. So I don't sell many dog bones anymore. I'm selling bone marrow and people love it.
Wow. Didn't realize that was happening. Like one of those butchers I like to watch is Bernard Holbury. He was doing a lot of work with Victor Churchill's in Sydney and Victoria, and he's moved on since then. But he's also a photographer, and he tells the story so well about butchery with his images that he takes. He's just a really refined butcher, I think, would just sum him up, because he does everything meticulously, from cutting the meat, trimming it. Have a look at what he does. He's an inspiration to me, and like a lot of other butchers out there, I just really admire what they do. I've met a lot of butchers over the years, and they've certainly changed the way I think about meat, and my thoughts on the trade will never change. I think it's always been a good trade, especially for me, and I think there's a lot of guys could certainly look outside the square and just realise what they're actually doing is something really special.
There's a lot of cowboys in the industry, but you get that everywhere, and there's a lot of people that still do have the passion for it. Another guy that I watch all the time is old EV Slacky. Slacky's over in England, and he's a master butcher, and he does a lot of comparison videos of here's a New York steak he's cut, and here's one from his Woolies down the road or whatever. And he compares them and says, this is the difference, and this is the price difference. You're paying a little bit more, but you're getting a better steak. And I think that's where we want to sort of go in the future, is sort of get that into people. Say you can go down there to Woolies and buy yourself the cheap steak, but you're buying the terrible quality. Go to the butcher shop, and that's where I was sort of thinking maybe I should. Hopefully the trend's going that way, and I think the trend is people are coming back to the shops.
You're right, mate. They are. We see the data coming through every couple of months, and butchers' growth has changed a lot over the last couple of years. Actually, since COVID, once COVID hit, obviously butchers went through the roof. They went up to like 18% share of volume, which is huge. And it sort of died off a lot very quickly for whatever reason, but it went back. A lot of people started going back to the butchers. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a bit of an increase in the butcher share of volume, and I think we're very close to that 18% again, which is like 18% of total production of red meat in Australia. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it is. So it's volume v kilos type of thing. So, we export a lot of meat, obviously, because we can. We only need 25 to 30% of what we produce in Australia. That suits our market. So that 18% of that 30% is quite a lot of meat. And I think it's 1% of that 18% is equal to $50 million. So, that's a lot of meat that butchers, a lot of money, a lot of meat that butchers are selling. So, the customers are becoming more, I suppose, more loyal, I'd imagine, and just really sort of taking on the butchers, going back to the butcher, I suppose is what I'm trying to say.
Definitely. Like, well, when I was going to take on the shop, I was going to look at a few shops in Dubbo to buy, and I was getting a bit of money together for them, and I approached the butcher and he didn't want to sell to me, and I approached another butcher and they didn't want to sell to me, and I said, well, I'll just go back and work for somebody else. And then a butcher shop shut in Dubbo, and then another shop shut in Dubbo, and then I said, well, there's 2 shops shut, I said, that's not a good sign. And then not one shop opened back up, and then the shop I'm in now, they sort of shut too. And it's sort of shut. It was an empty building for 6 months, and I was like, oh, I really wanted to go into that shop, because I did my apprenticeship in there. So it was just a matter of just applying for the lease and talking to the real estate. And then the real estate was worried. He said, I don't really want another butcher shop to go in there. I said, because that butcher shop didn't do very well. And I said, well, it's just give it a go, I said, I'll sign the 5-year lease. And I signed the 5-year lease and never looked back.
Yeah, good. So how many, you've been here 2.5 years now?
2.5 years now,
yeah. Yeah, awesome. Going strong. That's good.
Going all right. It's just enough. I've had a lot of butchers say to me, don't do it. The biggest thing here is staff, trying to find staff. And 2.5 years, I've gone through 8 apprentices. I thought I'd never go through that many apprentices, and none of them are finished, So, yeah, it was just hard to find ones that are willing to and keen to do it, They just want to turn up for a paycheck. A lot of them were only young, 14, 15 years out of school, and I thought, give them a go, why not, but they just wanted to get out of school, I think. I'm finding the older butchers, I'm getting some of the older butchers and casuals, they've left, they've gone on and done something else, and they ring me up and say, have you got a day here for me? I said, yeah, come on down. We'll do Friday, and I'll get you working, you can bust the beef for me and that. Yeah, so it's got to get out of semi-retirement, getting back into the work they are.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's hard to find different areas, I suppose, and regional is probably really, really tough to find labour. I was in Adelaide last week and I visited quite a few shops, and a lot of those guys are really struggling to put apprentices on. Yet in Sydney, there's quite a record number of apprentices that have been put on this year. So, and sort of hopefully things are sort of turning around where there's more, obviously more apprentices coming on. They've obviously got jobs, but eventually it's going to flow out into the market. They're going to start looking for other jobs elsewhere. So hopefully we might see a little bit, especially in Sydney, and hopefully they'll want to move out to Dubbo. Maybe, you never know, but it's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel.
When I went to meat stock and I meet all these other butchers, I talk to them and say, why don't you come out to Dubbo, or young apprentices there, come out to Dubbo, come visit us, and they come out and they have a look and they said, this is not too bad of a place, It's not as bad as what we hear on the TV all the time. Like I said, we've been here for so long and we've never had any trouble and it's been fine. We enjoy it. Our families around here, the community is just always looking out for each other. And it's so great.
Yeah, there's a lot of regional areas out there where there's not too many butchers, and it's a great opportunity to get your foot in the door. And there's probably the odd butcher shop that has been shut down, or if you're cashed up, which you're going to need to be to go and build a new shop. You just do your due diligence, check out the area, make sure you are in the right spot, and put your roots down and go for it, because there's good money to be made in the industry still.
Definitely, my wife was so worried about it. Like we spent about a month and a half just painting the shop and decorating and getting it all ready. To even have an S-hook in the shop, nothing in there at all except a fridge and a counter. And she said, what do we need? She said, you're spending all this money. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? And first opening day, and then rings the till off at the end of the day. She goes, wow, people are paying money for meat. She didn't realise people paid this much money for meat. I said, well, people do all the time and they enjoy it, And she said, wow, this is not too bad, She started to say she enjoys the job now.
You just reminded me of something I did a few years back, quite a number of years back. I got out of one shop and I was looking for another butcher shop, and I found one. It had been shut for only about a couple of weeks or so, and I went in there and I said to the real estate, yeah, I'll take it on, and he gave me the key, and I went in there and cleaned it or painted it, or only it cost me a couple $100 to do it, but something didn't feel right, something didn't feel right. So I walked away, and it was the best thing I could have done. And Adam Stratton said something very similar. If you're not sure or things aren't going your way in the negotiations, you've just got to walk away, because there's a reason why you're feeling that way, or the reason why it's not going your way is because it's not the right deal for you.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a few of them before we started our shop too. Just walking away was the best thing we ever did. We're thinking, well, if we'd have done that deal, we'd be stuck there and we wouldn't be able to do this, because there wouldn't be the size to do it, The shop's just the right size just for us to go now and to expand in the future if we needed to.
Hey, mate, what's your favourite cut of meat and how do you like it cooked?
What I love lamb. I always eat lamb all the time. It's like at the end of the day, we just look at the counter, me and my wife, and we say, what do you feel like eating? And she goes, I don't know. And she usually goes for a chicken schnitzel or even just the sausages. She loves the sausages. And I'll say, well, I'm going to have lamb cutlets, or I'm going to have lamb crumb cutlets, or I'm going to have a lamb steak. It's just always lamb for me. I just love it.
Yeah, you're in a good area for it anyway.
Yeah, so easy to cook. Just a bit of salt and pepper on there and just fry it up and it's done.
Perfect. And what's your go-to recipe you recommend for customers?
Go-to recipe for customers? That's a big one. I'd say the lamb mussumum, because it's so great, lamb mussumum. We sell it, usually only sells in the wintertime, but we have people coming in there all the time for it. And they say, where's the lamb mussumum? We want that lamb mussumum. It's easy to cook. You can, like I said, you can put it in the slow cooker, or you can just do it on the stovetop, and it takes about an hour and a half. Because they're big chunks of lamb, pieces of potato in there, just falls apart nice and tender. Yeah, it's so easy to get that, like And when people come in the afternoon and want something quick and easy, grab that.
I love a good curry. The hotter the better.
No, not hot for me.
Yeah,
Can't
come
handle
on.
heat. Yeah, people come in and they always ask, what's the hottest sausage? I said, well, I don't make hot sausages because I don't enjoy hot sausages. I don't sell anything I don't enjoy.
You could be missing out on some trade there, mate.
Yeah, I think that. But if they want a hot one, I'll make it a hot one for them. But yeah, not much. I don't like hot. I like to enjoy my food and not burn my mouth out while I'm trying to eat a piece of meat.
Yeah, look, I understand what you mean.
We'll agree to disagree, hey?
Yeah, okay. Next time I come out there, I'll bring some of my Mexican sausages with me, and we'll give you some flavour as well as heat. Hey, what do you find the most rewarding part of being a butcher?
I think I was actually talking to another butcher the other day. He came into my shop, and he's not working as a butcher. He's just retired, and he's standing at the back of the shop while I'm talking to all these customers. The rapport I have with the customers, Dot and Don, they came in, and I'm talking to them like I'm their best friend, and I only met them every week, and that's all it is. And the banter we have between each other, like I'm dishing Dot about his bald head, and Dot got a nice haircut, and we're talking about the other customer that just walked in there too. So it's that sort of banter between the customers. I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy just having a laugh. And the other butcher, he's just standing at the back there, and he says, he's watching me. He said, this is the sort of stuff that makes me want to do butchering again. And I said, well, there's always a job here for you. He said, no. He said, I don't want to do anything else. I just want to stand there and talk to the customers. And I said, well, you can happily do that. I'll let you just stand here and talk to the customers and do that banter, because he said he enjoys it. And he said it was so much fun just to stand there and watch me do that, he said. And I enjoy doing it too.
Yeah, I got to say, I really love the best part of my job is getting out into the butcher shops and just talking to the butchers, and then looking at the body language of the customers and how they appreciate the way that a lot of butchers serve them and look after them and feed their families. You know, there's some great relationships out there with customers, between the butcher and the customer. So, you know.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I can see the cars pull up at the front of the shop there. I'm in the shop there. I see them pull up, and the customer comes up, and as soon as they open the door, they got the smile on the face, and hey, how you going there, Dave or Rob or whoever it is? And yeah, and I smile back at them, and then it's just like we banter each other for the next 15 minutes while I say, what are you going to eat? And he says, I don't know what I'm going to eat. I said, why don't you eat these steaks here? I've got these steaks for eat, these sausages I just made, and push them onto them. And they say, right, I'll take your recommendation, Nathan. And they walk out with a smile on their face, and they just jump back in the car and they're driving out still happy.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Well, look, I'm going to let you get rolling. I know it's been a long day for you. So, mate, really appreciate your time and your thoughts on the trade, and wish you all the very best, you and your wife, with the business. I hope it really goes well, and I'll make sure I get out to Dubbo, and I'm going to bring some of my ring stingers with me, and we're going to change your mind about eating hot food, okay?
Right, I definitely. I feel very privileged that you know who I am, and yeah, you know our little shop here in Dubbo.
No, thank you. I appreciate you coming on board, mate, and I'm sure a lot of the butchers out there are enjoying listening to your story. So all the best for Chrissy, mate. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch up with you.
Thank you. All the best.
This podcast is provided for information purposes only. The MLA Group strongly recommends that listeners exercise discretion and obtain professional advice before relying on any information in this podcast.